Is Michael Saylor going to sell Bitcoin? Strategy currently holds almost 650,000 Bitcoin. If you're on crypto Twitter over the past 1-2 days, your For You page has been absolutely flooded by the fears of Saylor selling his Bitcoin. And those fears are fueled by one thing and one thing only, JP Morgan. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you, even though if the MSTR share price drops, let's say to our target, which we've been saying of $107, even if you drop all the way to $107, I'm going to try and explain to you how that will have absolutely no impact on their Bitcoin holdings. Okay, so this is a video you want to watch. There's a lot of fear that's going on. People are saying that Satoshi is Epstein and that quantum computers are now going to crack into Bitcoin. You know, a lot of these fears are happening, obviously, in a time where Bitcoin has fallen down by 32% from all-time highs. And it's obvious. The amount of fear we have is obvious. You know, you've been in extreme fear for a very long time now, and these narratives happen near the bottom. And most of the time, these narratives are completely baseless and not even true. So in this stream, we're going to be covering, or this video, we're going to be covering some of those narratives and trying to get rid of all the false information that's out there on the internet, and they're trying to go and confuse you. And I really want to make sure that you are not confused by the wrong information. And obviously, we'll take a look into the Bitcoin price action, analyze the macro timeframes, and whether if we're going to see a bounce before seeing an ultimate drop. You guys know, if you're tuning into this channel for the first time, my name is Crypto Kid. I've been producing content about the crypto industry for the past 4 years now here on this channel. I've been in crypto for the past 6 years, and we post daily technical analysis videos here on the Crypto Kid channel. So if you want more in-depth analysis, looking at where the price action is going, looking at trades that we open, then make sure that you're subscribed and make sure to destroy the like button so that we can push this video to as many people as we can. With that said, let's cover the Bitcoin price analysis out of tradition, and then we'll go into Saylor and that whole conundrum. All right, looking at the price of Bitcoin from a macro perspective, we look bad. I mean, the intermediate term, which means the next 6 months, half a year, it doesn't look too good for Bitcoin. And that's the sad truth, all right? A lot of people are comparing this current price action to the price action which took place in about Q2 of 2021. Sadly, from a 4-year cycle perspective, and more importantly, from just a technical analysis perspective, these two events are not comparable. Okay, what is comparable with Q2 of 2021 was Q2 of 2025. This is very similar. I mean, you went up in a parabolic way, you came down to your 54 simple moving average, found your support, and then you went on and you created your final rally into Q4 of post-halving year. So like those two events make sense. That comparison makes total sense. It makes total sense. But when you look at the price action today, the next best thing to this price action was right over here, November, December of 2021, where Bitcoin started entering into the bear market. So I want you to listen to this part very carefully because it's very, very important. All right. So when we go into the price action, we are currently at very, very crucial support. All right. You had a huge inverse head and shoulder pattern that was created over the course of the past 2 cycles. We traded the breakout from right here. We traded the breakout on the retest. And now we're seeing a second retest to this prior line of resistance. And I want to show you why I think we're going to see a bounce first, even though we're quite bearish. I think we're going to see a bounce first before maybe making a move to lower price levels. You see, after a capitulation event, this move to the downside from the 69,000 to the bottom was about a 51% move. All right. And you came to the lows that was created in Q2. Actually, I mean, you didn't come to them exactly, but you came very close to the lows created in Q2 of that same year. If we look at the lows, we almost came down to them, but we haven't touched it yet. We've not come down to them exactly. Very similar to the structure created 4 years ago. All right. And then what happened was throughout a 40-day to a 50-day period, the price of Bitcoin slowly made its way to the 50 simple moving average on the weekly, and obviously the death cross area between the 200 daily and the 50 daily moving average. You got a lot of bearish crossovers happening at around the 102 to the 107 price levels. You have the bull and bear market support band about to cross into the 54 simple moving average. On the daily time frame, you have your simple moving averages right over here. You know, they already saw the bearish crossover. So what happens is usually, I mean, every single time you get this bearish crossover, at least between the 50 daily and 200 daily, you see Bitcoin retesting the 200 daily before making another move to the downside when you're in that transitory phase from bull to bear, which we are in. All right. So I think we are going to see that move into the 200 daily moving average, which is where I'm actually going to be shorting Bitcoin. And then we can take profits on some of the positions we opened earlier on in the cycle. And if you're looking for a place to be trading, Weeks is giving you an incredible bonus with this link. When you bind your phone number and email address to your account, you'll get a coupon between $10 to $100 to use in your trading. And whatever profits you make, you can keep for yourself. So check out that platform if you want to be trading. I think we're going to see a bounce. I'm quite confident that this low created on 80s is going to be that swing low, and we try to see a bounce from here, no matter how long it takes, into that 200 daily moving average, which currently is at about 110. That will probably come down to about 108, 107 by the time it takes for us to move into that level. And then after seeing a retest to that sort of price level, I think we will come back to this line of support, and then we can reevaluate if we will break it to the downside or just consolidates. Time will tell. But for now, in the short term, I'm actually quite bullish. I think in the very, very short term, it's possible we revisit the 82s, the 81s. But if we look into the next few weeks to the next 1 month and next 1 month and a half, I think the 200 daily moving average is going to be retested, and then we will likely get a rejection from that price territory. That is my current outlook for Bitcoin, okay? That's where I'm going to end off my Bitcoin TA. So what does this mean for MicroStrategy? All right, so from just a technical and purely technical perspective, we know that MSTR has been repeating, just like what Bitcoin has been doing. It's been repeating exactly what it did in the last cycle. Double top, retest the moving averages, EMA ribbons, and then come to the downside. That EMA ribbon retest part hasn't happened yet, but if Bitcoin does that retest, then MSTR stock will also make that retest. I think we will come down to the 107 levels, mark the lows created as the highs in 2021, and also the lows that were created back in 2024. I think that is a very probable situation. So if MSTR does see a drop to 107 purely from technicals, or if it sees the drop to 107 because of the MSCI or the MCI index exclusion, then does it mean that, well, Michael Saylor will have to liquidate his Bitcoin? But first, let's explore what this MCI index is and how JP Morgan is entangled in this thing. There's been rumors that JP Morgan has been building a massive, massive, massive short position against Bitcoin. And Max Kaiser said that if Bitcoin pumps like 50%, it's going to liquidate all of JP Morgan. I think those claims are baseless. I don't think those claims are true. There isn't any evidence to support that to be the truth. That is point number one. Point number two, does JP Morgan have a short position? There is more credible evidence that they do have a short position on MSTR, not on Bitcoin, but on MSTR. How does that affect the MSTR and why are they short? Well, they're short because there's about a 65% chance, according to Grok, that MSTR next year in January gets excluded from something called the MCI index. The MCI index is a very, very popular index where billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of capital across the world invests based off of this MCI or the EMC index, right? They invest based off of what this EMC index is tracking. And the exclusion of strategy from this EMC index or the MCI index, whatever you want to call it, will, according to Grok, remove about $10 to $11 billion, likely from the MSTR stock value, which I don't think is quite accurate, but that's the prediction that Grok is giving. He said 2 billion, then he said 10 to 11 billion. In the bottom line, they're expecting billions of dollars to be removed from the MSTR shares. Now, if that is to happen, then how big of a drop would MSTR see in stock price? Well, I think the 107 is going to be reached regardless of the exclusion or deletion from that specific index. Maybe you drop even lower, but doesn't matter for their Bitcoin holdings. If you're an MSTR shareholder, obviously this news is terrible. But if you're a Bitcoin holder, how does that impact you? Doesn't mean that Saylor is now going to liquidate his 650,000 in Bitcoin if MSTR collapses to 107 or potentially even below. No, absolutely not. The way that their debt is structured is that basically it's done in a way where MSTR has very low risk in low repayments. The earliest amount of debt repayment that they have to do is basically in 2027. That is in 1.5, 2 years time, okay? And it's equivalent to about $1 billion, which they can pay off and refinance quite easily without having to sell any of their Bitcoin holdings. That is 2 years almost down the line, 2027. There is no immediate debt sort of repayment that MSTR has to do, which would cause it to liquidate their Bitcoins, even if MSTR fell by 50%, or even if the price of Bitcoin fell below their average entry price of 74K. None of these things would cause Michael Saylor or Strategy to liquidate their Bitcoin. Like, it's just complete nonsense, all right? So MSTR holders, yes, I would be careful. But if you're a Bitcoin holder worried about MSTR, there's nothing to worry about. And it's just, the numbers do tell the truth. I mean, there's been some posts that go into sort of different numbers. And yes, it would be bad for the MSTR stock price, but Bitcoin doesn't really get impacted. And that's the message that I wanted to bring to you. And it's important that everybody is aware of that. And some other FUD that we found online was, okay, is Satoshi Epstein, right? So what? So what if Satoshi was Epstein? Who cares? What can Epstein do now? He can't do anything, obviously, because he's passed away. But even, let's say, Trump was Satoshi or somebody else was Satoshi, the only thing they can really do is sell their 1 million Bitcoin. And yeah, that would impact price action in a dramatic way in the short term. But in the long term, or even immediately, like, they can't change Bitcoin. You can't change how Bitcoin functions. You can't change the principles of Bitcoin. It's free market. Bitcoin is free market. You can't change it. You can't control it. And that's what makes it beautiful. MSTR can have 650,000 Bitcoin if they wish to hold 650,000 Bitcoin if they can afford it. BlackRock can come in and buy a million of Bitcoin. Like, these things can happen and it's out of your control. You can inscribe something onto a Bitcoin block as you wish and nobody can control that. Bitcoin is uncontrollable, but you can use it. You can leverage it for your transactions and storing your value, but you can't change it. Nobody can change it. The US dollar, you can't change it also, but a certain group of people can print more of it. That's what makes the US dollar corrupt, but Bitcoin uncorrupt. It's uncorrupt currency. It's uncorrupt store of value. Okay, so that's something that you need to know. All right, these FUDs, these big stories take place to scare you during times of massive drops, during times where people anticipate lower price actions, and they do tend to mark bottoms. And I think it's possible that the bottom is in the short term, where you see that increase when you combine it with TA, when you see that increase into that moving average crossovers, and then from there, you probably will trickle down. But this is the message I wanted to share to you. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next video very soon, guys. Bye-bye.